When my high school teacher told me I'd never amount to anything, I bought her husband's business and fired him. Mrs. Fletcher taught junior year English at my high school, and she had a reputation for crushing students who didn't fit her idea of success. She'd been teaching for 30 years and treated her classroom like a courtroom where she was judge and jury. I wasn't a perfect student. My grades were average, I struggled with essays, and I spent most of class doodling business ideas in my notebook margins instead of paying attention to her lectures. One afternoon, she caught me sketching a logo during her lesson on Fitzgerald. She walked over, snatched my notebook off my desk, and held it up to the entire class. Her laugh was cold and performative, designed specifically to humiliate. She announced to everyone that this was exactly why some students were destined for nothing. I had no discipline, no focus, no real intelligence. I was wasting everyone's time, including my own. Then she looked directly at me and said I'd never amount to anything because I lacked the basic cognitive ability to succeed in the real world. The classroom went dead silent. A few students laughed nervously. Most just stared at their desks, grateful it wasn't them. I felt my face burning as she dropped my notebook back on my desk and continued her lesson like nothing had happened. That single moment carved itself into my memory and never left. I started working at an auto parts store the summer after graduation, learning everything from inventory management to customer service to supplier relationships. I worked 70-hour weeks while taking night classes in business management. Every time I wanted to quit, I thought about Mrs. Fletcher's face, that dismissive laugh, those words that said I wasn't good enough. 5 years later, I opened my first auto parts store in the next county over. It was small, barely profitable, but it was mine. I undercut competitors on price, focused on customer service, and grew slowly. I reinvested every dollar. 10 years after high school, I owned 8 locations across 3 counties. 15 years later, I had 22 stores and had just secured a major investment that put me in position to expand aggressively. My business partner mentioned an auto repair shop was for sale. The owner was retiring and looking for a buyer. I wasn't particularly interested since we focused on parts, not repair services. Then my partner sent over the business details, including staff information. The general manager's name jumped out at me. Mr. Fletcher. I did some quick research and confirmed it. Mrs. Fletcher's husband had been managing the auto repair shop for 20 years. The same Mrs. Fletcher who'd humiliated me in front of my entire class. The same woman who told me I'd never amount to anything. Suddenly that memory came flooding back with perfect clarity. Her cold laugh, the way she'd held up my notebook, those words about lacking basic cognitive ability. She'd spent years bragging about her husband's position, his salary, their vacation home. I'd heard it all through mutual acquaintances over the years. I called my partner back within the hour and told him I wanted to buy the shop, which I did through a business acquisition firm, keeping my identity hidden. The offer was generous and included terms that I'd have full control over all staffing and management decisions. The owner accepted within 2 weeks. The paperwork took 6 weeks to finalize. The entire time, I kept rehearsing what I'd say when the moment finally came. My first day as owner, I walked into the auto repair shop and asked to see the general manager. Mr. Fletcher came out of his office wiping grease off his hands, expecting to meet the new owner. His face showed confusion when he saw me. He didn't recognize me at first. 15 years had changed me from an awkward 17-year-old into a 32-year-old businessman in a suit. I introduced myself by name and watched his expression shift as recognition slowly crept in. He remembered me from parent-teacher conferences, from the few times my parents had met with Mrs. Fletcher about my grades. His confusion turned to worry. I told him the business was being restructured and his position as general manager was being eliminated effective immediately. His severance package was fair, but his employment was over. He tried to argue, said he'd been there 20 years, that the previous owner had promised him job security. I reminded him this was an at-will employment state and all the paperwork was in order. Security walked him out 30 minutes later with his belongings in a box. The moment he left, I called Mrs. Fletcher through the business phone. She answered immediately, probably expecting her husband. I told her I'd just fired him. Silence. Then she asked who this was. I gave her my full name and waited. More silence as she processed. I reminded her of junior year English, of the day she told me I'd never amount to anything. I explained that I'd just purchased the auto repair shop her husband managed for 20 years and terminated his employment. I thanked her for the motivation and hung up before she could respond. I still have that notebook she grabbed from me 15 years ago. The logo I was sketching that day is now on 22 auto parts stores and 1 very profitable mechanic shop.